Yo, yo, yo. It's your boy Spongerelli back in the building with my man Faro. He is back stateside
So
from his good trip from
yep,
overseas in the cold Stockholm, Sweden, Amsterdam, you name it. He's back in
cold
chilly, balmy Florida now. It
burr.
was 20 degrees over there. Now you're at a balmy 65, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
even know what
man.
it
It
is.
was
But
good trip. Good trip.
yeah,
Got some work
no,
done. Saw some things. Did some
some
things.
things. Hey,
Yeah, had some
that's what I'm talking about.
good
Yeah, that's
times.
good. That's good. You did some NHL work, and now you're
Yeah,
back over here. You watched a little. I know. Like the time change was a little different, so you had to get in where you fit in to see what was
yeah,
going on. Obviously, in the college football world, obviously, things were uh, happening in the wee hours of the morning. I would say,
we
yeah. So
hours in the morning. Yeah, 6 hour time difference. So
yeah, like I
Florida,
say,
Missouri, and Florida State, North Alabama was like what 1, 2 a.m. over there.
that's crazy. Yeah, like
Yeah,
yeah, we were talking about it earlier before we got on here. Like, dude, season's
it's
effing over,
over.
man. What's going
Yeah,
on, dude? Like, no,
one
we're
one more
sad.
week and
We're
that's it.
we're sad, but it is what
Very
it
sad.
is. It freaking took wings and flew by. I mean, it's
Hmm.
this is what happens, and you
Well,
look
that's what
up
happens
and
when you get wrapped up in it, and there's literally football on every day
yeah,
between
I mean,
NFL and college.
for sure, you get wrapped up in it. Takes wings.
Hmm.
Thanksgiving's tomorrow, holiday edition right now, and I
Yeah,
was talking to Ricky. I was talking to Ricky earlier. Christmas will be here really before you know it, and like I say, we'll
yep,
be deep into bowl season and who's going to be in the final four, all that stuff. But
yeah.
like I say, we'll just jump right into what happened. I think the biggest storyline of last weekend was Ricky's Florida State Seminoles. Jordan Travis going down with the brutal injury, and he is done for the season, done for his Knoll career. He's been there forever, and it sucks to see my man, even as a hated rival, it sucks to see
Hmm.
any kid get hurt like in that fashion. You want to see Florida State at their best. You want to see them play against their best to compete. So it's going to be a whole new thing for
Yeah,
Florida State in these next couple of weeks.
yeah. I mean, like you say, I was half asleep, and then my phone was going off like crazy at 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, and I look over, and you guys were talking about it, and I hopped on Twitter, and that was like the first thing I saw. I saw the injury, and I was just like, man, like you say, you never want to see an injury. You never want to see anything, a season end like this. And it's like, it's Florida State kind of snake bitten with this. I mean, you think about
Right.
2020 with the basketball team with
Right.
COVID, that was
Yeah.
potentially a year they could have won the national championship. This is a year I didn't think they were going to win a national championship, but you can't say never.
Right.
They're in prime position. I mean, all it takes is an injury like
Yeah.
this to
Yeah.
put them in prime position. So it sucks, man. You never, like you say, we're both fans of rival schools. You never want to see, especially at the quarterback position, one of the most important positions on the field, someone get hurt like that. Just a routine play. I
Yeah.
mean, the kid was just doing a slide. Not, I don't think it was egregious or anything. It's just his foot got stuck underneath him, and
Yeah.
it just,
That's happening. It's happening. That type of
yeah.
injury is happening now. And it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those where when your foot gets stuck like that, it can, these guys are so big, powerful, strong, all that.
Yeah.
I know people have been talking about the hip tackle and all that, whatever. It's football. Like injuries happen. It's
They
not,
happen.
it
They
wasn't,
happen.
like I say, it wasn't blatant and egregious. It's
I
just one of
mean,
those freak style plays.
yeah, think about it. Look at the NFL with Joe Burrow and who else is out? The other quarterback that's out?
Deshaun's out now.
Deshaun's out.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's just part of football, man. It's you can't take all the physicality out of it. Like I said, I don't think the tackle was egregious or anything. And is this Florida State now? How do you bounce back? Does Tate Rodemaker come in? Can he continue to make? I don't think he brings that element that JT brings when the play breaks down. He could run out of the pocket and get a crucial first down and whatnot. But we don't know
Yeah.
that. Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. This
next
is all
man
going to
up.
be it's all going to be new. So
Hmm.
I'm intrigued to see what the sample looks like after
Yeah.
Florida and Louisville.
The next
Let
man
me
up
like
mentality.
I don't have
Everybody
to.
else
I don't.
has to step up.
Yeah, this is what like you don't have to. We're not. Like, I know Florida State fans were crying about them getting bumped in the rankings, all that. Like, guess what? Like, you still got 2 weeks to prove it, and you're still in the
Yep.
slot to just win these next two games.
Yeah.
and do it impressively. Don't lose, don't screw around and lose, or so we get to see what happens. I know they were talking about it last night on the college football, preview or the ranking show. The sample of what happened when all the Ohio State quarterbacks went down right before in the Michigan game. And next thing you know, you got a guy named Cardale Jones coming in to play in the Big Ten championship game. And they're like, well, you know what? I think Ohio State, they're done.
Yeah.
Like maybe they can win here. Well, guess what? They beat the brakes off of, I think they played Purdue 59-0 or whoever they played that year.
Yeah.
And
Bama.
and then they vaulted into the Final Four because the committee, they let the thing play out. Like if Rodemaker
that's what you're supposed to do.
Florida, exactly. That's right. People need to like pump the brakes, relax.
Yeah.
It's okay. So,
I mean, it's still a conversation we have to have. But
right.
if you win out, you control your own destiny. Like,
yeah, I agree. I don't think an ACC champ gets jumped by one of these one-loss teams. I just don't think that happens.
This is hard. Can I see it happening? I could. Hey, man, with the human element, anything could happen.
Right.
But I don't see it happening though.
I don't think the committee will do a precedence on that, like the last go round of this, to be like, oh, let's put a one loss, blah 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 in over. Like I say again, this is the great thing about these last 2 weeks, that there could be some chaos. There's going to be some drama because guess what? We get Ohio State, Michigan, so that's going to work itself out. You get maybe a Washington Oregon rematch. That's going to work itself out. You're going to get
they still got to play their rivals. They still got to be his rivalry week, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
You got to beat your rivals.
So, that's what I'm saying. It's not in Florida State. You got to go beat Florida. You got to go beat Louisville. Texas. You got to go win your game against Texas Tech and win the Big 12 game.
Big 12, yeah.
So like I say, there's plenty of football. I know we're at the end here, but there's still plenty that's going to happen in these last 2 weeks to really shape up what's going to happen.
It's like for people who don't play, it's one of those things where every coach you've heard, even if you haven't played, you hear it, next man up. It's just the next man up. That's any position. If you're all pro or all conference or all American left tackle goes down, guess what? You got to plug somebody else in there and figure out, you got to scheme it up and figure out how to protect that blind side. If you're all pro, all American safety goes, so you go position by position. If that person goes down, the next guy has to stand in there, and you never know. You might have a situation where a Sean Taylor replaces a Ed Reed,
right,
and you go down the line where Willis McGahee is fourth on the depth chart, and now all of a sudden everyone's like, who the hell is this Willis McGahee guy when you just had Edge, Portis, Gore, you just go down the list. And I mean, you go from every school, it's the same situation. A guy has to come in and play and take over. So this might be Tate Rodemaker's time to seize the job for next season even.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I say, it's his team now. He's got the keys. So
yeah,
we'll get into the Florida State breakdown here in a little bit. Like I say, we had to jump in obviously because Jordan Travis, the injury was the big news obviously last weekend that it's put Florida State in the radar to see what's going to happen with those guys. I mean, they handle business obviously against North Alabama, even with Rodemaker, because that team is good. The team is good. So
exactly.
You lose
the team itself is good.
You lost a special guy who basically engineered that team, which is huge. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens. Obviously,
as Jordan talent. Travis. I mean,
exactly.
For college, he's just a special talent.
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
We don't care right at this moment how he projects as an NFL quarterback or if he's going to play receiver or whatever. But at this moment at quarterback, what he's done at Florida State, I mean, he has a ton of records at Florida State. I think he has the all-time, touchdown record now and whatnot. And when you take something like that away from your offense, that dual threat ability, and a guy that has the experience and that heady and witty play, it's a huge loss. But guess what? The offensive line now has to step up and say, hey, we got to take this and we got to create holes for our backs and we got to protect our QB.
We should have checked the pulse on Steve Berg and Russ, see where they're at, what they're I haven't talked to either one of those two guys. Those Golden Chief boys,
I did talk to Steve that night. I think he had just got back from his
Hawaii trip.
Yeah, his Hawaii trip for his anniversary, and he was
traveling fools.
He's like, gosh, I won't say what he said, but it was yeah.
No, that's fine. Like I say, it's
Yeah.
I'll have to give him a little bit of
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow. I'll give him Thanksgiving off, but Friday I'll start talking some trash. But I mean, what am I supposed to talk trash on? I get my boys, going on the road,
Hey,
Missouri, top 10
I
team. The
listen, when
best
I
game,
saw
the
the
best game I
score,
watched all year. I'm like, hey,
yeah,
we're gonna steal a top 10 road victory
yeah,
and
Sponge, when I saw the score, I was just like,
rip my heart out,
What?
man. Yeah, it was. I figured because I knew you'd probably sleeping, so you'd probably wake up to all these like, damn, the Gators actually balled out. They played pretty
Yeah.
damn good. They did this, they did that, and again, this was probably the most entertaining game. It was the most fun game, even though you lost because it had everything you wanted. Back and forth.
Hmm.
You're on the edge of your seat. You're nail biting. You're trying to get a stop. You're trying to score. Your freaking quarterback breaks his collarbone. So now again, talking about Jordan Travis. Now you got the battle of the backups going against
Yeah.
rivalry week, and you're like, okay, enter Max Brown. You're like, what is this kid gonna do? And you get all the way down to the very end there. You end up kicking the field goal, and you're like, okay, it's on you, defense. $140. Can we get a stop? And 4th and 17 makes me want to throw up every time I think about it. And I'm
Yeah.
just
I mean, you going back through the game, I thought they did a terrible job on run defense because Schrader was just up and down the field. The Weiss play, how do you let that happen? The 4th and 17 play, the best receiver on the team, you just let run basically a go route and he just hooks up at 18 yards and no one puts a hand on him. Like, that's the last person you don't put a hand on.
yeah. Again, like you first, second, third down, you play great defense. You even back them up and get them into a 4th and long situation where you're like, man, this is money, this is business. And the play you call where they had a trips look, Missouri did, and a single side on the bottom, to the hash, and you basically had verticals with basically a guy who hooked up at 18. It almost looked like
Yeah.
the play the other night with the Eagles and the Chiefs the other night. But you had your linebacker underneath trying to carry 18 yards. This is where he's a backup because Shamar James is out, Scooby's out. We're banged up as hell. And, so then you got him trying to run up underneath all that. And guess what? This is like what Gus and Ross used to always say. He's just guarding grass at 10 yards. He doesn't get the extra 7 yards depth, to get back to 17 to kind of be in the window.
But that's the inexperience.
Exactly. Then you got your star true freshman safety, Jordan Castell, who we'll get into him in a second too. He's literally 35 yards off the ball, playing deep in the deep. He ain't letting nothing get behind him now. So Luther Burden, he's not getting that 9, but he ain't getting a vertical on him.
I guess they've been watching Miami film
like,
of letting guys get deep.
Get up in the play. Be up 5 yards from the marker, to where you can come downhill and make a play on the ball, hit the receiver, do something.
At least be at 20. At least be at 20.
Exactly. He was literally steady backpedaling as the play went on.
Yeah.
He was already the deepest, but then only did he decide, you know what? Let me go ahead and get a little bit put your heels down, let the play develop, and then come downhill, rob something, hit something, pick something. No. Instead, he's backpedaling, and now we got 3 guys: Jason Marshall, Jaden Hill, Nunnery underneath, and Luther Burden catching the ball just like butt naked. Cook just sitting back there like he's packing his lunch. Like, is this really happening? Is this guy really that open? Boom. And then, then you even still you let him get 2 more plays on you to even make it a chippy. And then the thicker kicker comes in to drill it.
I mean, you just can't let the potential Lou Groza Award winner get a chip shot like that.
Yeah, we saw what he did against K-State.
Right. I mean, like you say, getting those extra yards after that first down, that was a chip shot for him.
Yeah, that was
missing that.
And going back to Castell, we talked about this one earlier too. There was a play earlier in the game where you're like, all right, here's the situation. We're manned up. You got Weiss running a little bunch set underneath screen route, drag route underneath the line. Castell, boom, right on him, sticky. Then all of a sudden he looks up. you know what? I think I might try to get a sack right here. Brady Cook's right there. All right, I'm going to leave my man. I'm just going to freestyle this. I'm going rogue, baby. I'm going to make this sack right here. And instead, he leaves him. And Brady Cook's like, oh, drop back. I'll throw it right over the top of you. Weeze catches it, hits the sideline, 77 yards. Okay, yeah. Where's the rest of my defense? Okay, my backup linebacker's Trey Wingo, who's running in cement boots. My other backup linebacker, Ohio State transfer, Mr. Trahada, he's taking a bad angle. Wingo's taking a bad angle. Nobody gets him. Oh, where's my safety? Where's my safety? Castile, my other guy, he let him go to try to go get a sack. Bryce Thornton, the other true freshman, bad angle. Literally 3 bad angles to make a tackle on the sideline. Yeah. Pursuit drill. Where are we at, dog? No. Weeze is hauling ass out of there. Then he hits my favorite pulled hamstring celebration that I wanted to reach through the TV and choke him out. And I'm just like, man, this defense is so bad. My boy Graham Mertz breaks his collarbone. So you're like, okay. Max Brown comes in and plays pretty damn well. I don't know. I have no idea how Max Brown was going to play.
Yeah.
Had some nice RPO stuff.
I was about to say, I think that the RPO really, really helped him a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas in the bowl game, he really didn't. They really didn't run RPO with him.
That wasn't Max Brown, buddy. That was Jack Miller, buddy.
Oh yeah, Jack Miller. Sorry, Jack Miller.
Max Brown has not played at all. He's had a little bit of garbage duty. No, Max Brown was moving.
But it looked, because remember when he came in, you guys were down. Were you guys down?
Yeah, we were down, and then we had what killed me was, and this is just inexperience, not playing together. You had the mishandle with Montrell elbow, and you're like that. Literally, that was a field goal, a layup for Trace Mack. Yeah. And I was sitting here with DH. We were like, man, if Mertz was still in the game, I think we're scoring right here because we had all the momentum going. Instead, we literally get nothing there, and you're like,
yeah. Then on top of that, here's another week where you're sitting there, you're like, man, look at ETN again.
Here's what's crazy. I agree. Here's what David's literally pounding that the whole time, and I'm like, I'm in agreement with you, buddy. I'm like, ETN needs to get the ball, and here's the thing. What's wild is ETN got more carries than Montrell Saturday. It was still pretty even.
By how many though?
He got 3 more carries. It was 15 to 12 totes. But like I say, ETN was 15 for 82. Montrell was 12 for 85. So it's not like it just. But
then ETN had that catch.
He did. That was huge. That was
a huge catch.
Rollout play, busted kind of play. What I was going to say too before you said that was, yes, Montrell had 85 yards on 12 carries. He had almost 7 yards a carry. It just looks different.
It looks different.
Like, don't get me wrong. You got to keep Montrell in to spell ETN so he doesn't go the whole game.
Yeah.
Montrell is a better pass protector, so I get all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I guess here's the big thing. Billy was at least smart enough in the crucial key parts of the game. ETN was in there.
ETN in. Yeah.
Exactly. So at least he's learning a little bit. But here's my other big problem. Guess what? On that last drive, this was crazy to me too. He loves these bunch sets, Billy does. First down, they're in kind of a spread set. They try to hit one with ETN. He gets tackled. So then they go bunch. Well, guess what? When they go bunch, guess who comes off the field? Your other best dynamic playmaker, Trey Wilson. So you're like, okay, well, there's no threat here. What happens? Your tight end gets blown up. Third down. All right, we stay in the bunch set. We try to run like a stretch play to ETN. What happens? Your tackle gets blown up. Then ETN decides not to run out of bounds or fall down and runs out of bounds.
Yeah.
Saves a timeout. You kick the field goal, but you allowed basically 30 more seconds to stay on the clock or eliminate all their timeouts from Missouri.
Yeah. I mean,
and it was just.
No, it's I'm sure it's frustrating. I mean, but you got to take a silver lining out of this season for the Gators and Graham Mertz. Dude.
Yeah, everybody needs to kind of take back and be like, I'm sorry, you're pretty good, Mertz. You're pretty good. You
We
might
were
not
making
be like
fun of him.
you're not like maybe top level
Yeah.
good, but you're pretty damn
I
good.
mean, and then that play where he got hurt, that was just a gutsy play. Like,
Yeah, man.
I'm here. I want to win.
Well,
Like, you don't want your quarterback going in like that, but you can tell the kid wants to win, and week in
no,
and
well,
week out,
I
he does that.
distinctly I don't remember what week it was, but I distinctly remember you saying, like, man, Graham Mertz, he's a tough SOB. He's getting
Yeah.
drilled, he's getting hit, like
Mm-hmm.
he's taking sacks, like he's running for his life, and he's just grinding. And I was like, dude, he is pretty damn tough.
Yeah.
And to go through what he did, it's just like it's tough because you're like, he's had a pretty solid season. Offense has not been the damn problem.
No.
You think about,
Start
you
the
should have
season,
beat
end the season.
you should have beat Arkansas and Missouri to close out this year, and you got 7 wins, going
Yep.
into this stretch, where you're looking back at those like Kentucky game and the Utah game where you're like, man, if it was early in the year, all that, but it's just like, so how far off are we? If we got 7 or 8 wins, then everybody's like, oh, this team was it was decent,
Mhm.
but just that quick, you lose these 2 and it's all forgotten because you're 5-7 and your record's
Yep.
ugly. And,
Mhm.
all you remember is you got blazed by, Georgia, whatever. I mean, like I said, we said it last week. Everybody likes LSU and talks about how LSU is such a high-powered offense. They're great.
Mhm.
You were winning the damn game in the second half, and you were a field goal down in the fourth quarter. It's
Yeah.
just like, but that's just how
Hey.
close and how far away you
Yeah.
are.
It's like I say, like I told you beginning of this conversation, like the score really shocked me when I went back and watched it. I was like, man, only thing is the defensive line, they got to figure something out on that front line because they were getting pushed around, and
No, they
it
were.
seems like Schrader was not getting touched until he was 4, 5, 6 yards down the field.
What's wild is Schrader had a pretty good damn game. Obviously, he was averaging 6 yards a carry, but the Gators outrushed him almost by 100 yards,
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
Schrader went off and they kind of held everybody else in check, and he had,
Yeah.
I know he had a big run that was called back. He ended up with 150 total yards almost rushing, but
Yeah.
it was one of those where you're like, if he kept extending the drives where Weiss and fucking Burden, hit big plays down the field, and
Mhm.
there you are. Their offense is good.
The hop off the Florida thing for a second, like if Missouri played in the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-12, even the Big 10, their problem is they play in the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about
They
it.
got 2 losses. They lost to the number 1 team in the country by 10, and they lost in a shootout to LSU.
And you think about that Georgia loss, it was just 2 bad mistakes by Cook at the end of the game.
Yeah. No, like I say,
the
Missouri is pretty good.
The 2 teams that are really good that what they weren't on anyone's radar is Missouri and Arizona.
Yeah, Zona's balling too for sure.
I mean, Zona's going to be in the top 15.
Yeah, Zona is literally still in the mix to play in the Pac-12 title.
Yeah.
If Oregon State yeah, they're in. I mean, they got to beat Arizona State, but I mean, obviously, we think that's an easier win. But
for sure, yeah. But those 2 teams, I mean, we just haven't given them enough love in Missouri. Like, if somehow Drinkwitz could get all those guys back next year, they're going to be tough.
No, they're going to be good, man. Missouri,
Drinkwitz
he's doing a good job. I haven't looked at their schedule, who they got, if they're playing, a Texas or OU, or if they got Bama, or I don't know what theirs looks like. I haven't looked at it far enough ahead, but yeah, who's returning, who's leaving, all that stuff, transfer portal. Missouri's going to be pretty damn good. They're going to finish.
Yeah, we have to keep an eye on them.
I'm curious to know where they're going to end up in bowl season. Are they going to make a New Year's Six? Are they going to be outside? Are they going to be like in the Outback Bowl, Citrus Bowl, Gator Bowl? So we'll see what happens with them. But
we'll see.
My Gators took one on the chin, and like I say, we'll give the breakdown of the battle of the backups here in a second. We'll talk about your boys almost on the upset of the Louisville Cardinals, but just couldn't get it done.
But it wasn't. That's the thing. It wasn't an upset if they were favored.
No, exactly. It wasn't. That's what I'm saying.
I thought
it was a pick 'em, pretty much
weird.
a 1-point line. I thought it was a weird line.
Yeah, I mean, going into the game when we talked about it last week, what did we say? The opposite happened of what we said needed to happen. We said
we need to say Tyler Van Dyke needs to have a good game. Don't turn it over.
And guess what Tyler Van Dyke did? Didn't turn the ball over, and he had a decent game, and then the defense blew it. Well, here's the thing about the game. Louisville watching that game, that's like really the one game I truly had an opportunity to like watch. And
Watch Louisville.
the Louisville Miami game.
No, I'm saying this is your first time really watching Louisville like
Yeah,
that.
well, that
Yeah.
too. And I
got
think Louisville did a hell of a job taking what Miami loves to do on defense and used it against them, like that blitzing scheme. And all season Miami's had a problem with lining up with shifts and motions and stuff like that. And Braum, who's a genius at as an OC, him and his brother, and they did that. If you go back and watch the game, they did a lot of shifts and motions to make the Miami players think and say, "Oh, I got this guy, I got this guy." And the next thing you know, they didn't have those guys, So there's so many opportunities during this game where we took the lead. And I'm like, all right, we can start pulling away here. And then something dumb will happen. And then Louisville will drive down the field. Like the first two drives, like the tight end was wide open. Seems like every play up and down the field. You get them to a 4th and 2. You call a good blitz. The running back chips the linebacker just enough to not get to Plummer. And then you have the other guy coming in. He's getting there too late. And he's able to lay it up over the linebacker. And the tight end jumps up and catches it. And it seemed like that's every time they were on 4th down, Louisville was just finding ways to
convert,
to get first downs. And then, like I say, and then on the flip side, the Miami offense, they were running the ball with Fletcher. They were getting the ball to Restrepo. Like Tyler Van Dyke didn't look, all world, but he looked better than he's looked the last 6. And they were moving the ball up and down the field. I mean, and then one of my favorite plays, obviously, as an offensive lineman, when you have Francis Maianoa just go out there and blow up the safety on the Brashard Smith reverse.
Right.
Like, if that doesn't get you geeked up, I don't know what does. So the offense was able to do stuff, but then the defense is just like, all right, what happened to that defense against Florida State? I think it just you were on such a cloud 9 playing Florida State in the way they played on defense. And like I say, Louisville did a great job of exploiting Miami's weaknesses when it comes to switching guys off and man coverage and stuff. Like the one touchdown basically the game-winning touchdown where the 2 corners run into each other. And then speaking of bad angles, Cam Kitchens taking a bad angle on the receiver running down the field. I don't know if he thought he was going to run out of bounds or what. He like slows up and then the receiver just runs by him. So they had many opportunities, and then they still got the ball back, drove down the field, got it into the red zone, fourth and goal. You couldn't score. So, but you stop, they get the ball at the 3, and then, you get stopped at the 3, and then you have stupid unsportsmanlike penalty on Jacoby George that moves the ball from the 3 to the 18.
That was dumb.
Yeah, so you had your opportunities to to be in the game, to win the game, and then there was another dumb unsportsmanlike penalty in the 4th quarter that stops a drive and whatnot, and that's just been the tale of the season. Like every game, you just look at it, mistakes after mistakes after mistakes after mistakes, and every team makes mistakes. Is when those mistakes happen, and it seems like Miami has very costly mistakes when it comes to these games, and you're just like, we can't have that. You can't have, once again, the freshman right tackle has a great block in the game, but also has a bad holding call on a key play. And then he misses a block to get Tyler blown up when you had a guy wide open in the middle of the field. So, I mean, that's just pretty much how the Miami season's been. Inconsistent on both sides of the ball.
You took the word right out of my mouth. I was about to say inconsistencies there when you can do this here and be good and then do that and you're bad. Just be even keel and try not to do this. Obviously you want to be great, but you can't be bad either, or try to limit those things.
Yeah, if the defense plays half of how they played against Florida State, I think they could win that game against Louisville. I mean, Louisville is not world beaters.
Here's what I can't get a gauge on Louisville, man. I like
Plummer is so inconsistent.
Yeah, he threw it for 300, but I can't
it's
what I mean by this is how do I feel about Louisville against Florida State? I need to see. Obviously, I need to see what Rodemaker looks like against Florida,
right?
And then maybe how does Louisville look against Kentucky?
I was just about to say that. How did he look against Kentucky? Because Kentucky's going to line up and run the ball at them.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously they're going to watch the Miami tape and be like, well, if the freshman had over 100 yards rushing, our back. I'm not saying Ray Davis is a mile better than
Right.
Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher is just a true freshman. Ray
Yeah,
Davis
Ray Davis is the dude now, but I
he's
mean,
been in the league
he's
4
been
years.
and his season was started off. Obviously, he got his Heisman campaign against the Gators, but then it got derailed pretty quickly after he started playing some better defenses. But no, I want to see what Ray Davis, because Kentucky's just kind of one of those inconsistent teams too. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
you saw who they lost to last weekend, right?
Yeah.
Spencer Rattler and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I mean, what is going on here?
This is college football, man. It's not like how it was when we were younger, where the top 25 was the top 25.
Yeah,
there was just going to be a little bit of movement in there until everyone played each other, but it was pretty consistent. Anyone could win now. I mean, anyone could win.
Yeah, no, totally. And like I say, it's one of those things where, you're just like, you screw around here, you screw around there, what happens. But like I say, your Canes took one on the chin, but I mean, they played pretty that's back-to-back weeks they played against technically top 10 teams.
Yeah.
And, lost decent by a score, that's what I'm saying. This is what I was trying to say earlier too. Like using the Gators and Miami as teams that are underachieving right now, that are not playing well, but you're this close, but that far away. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're like, you can see where you're like, okay, this here, this there. If we do this, do that, we're competing with teams that are in the top 10. Like, what do we got to do? So that's again, silver lining, moral victory. Screw all that. But I mean, it is what it is. So you're like,
but it's year two. It's year two for both programs. Yeah. And the frustrating thing is, I know as fans, we want. You saw what Sonny Dykes did at TCU last year. You see what Jeff Brom's doing at Louisville this year.
Yeah, we see what TCU sucks. So they had one good year. So yeah.
So
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's, do you want the short term or do you want the long term? Right. And as long, I mean, I know it's been a rough week and a half for the Gators recruiting wise, where guys are flipping, but at the same time, and guess what? Next man up. You go find the next guy. You get those key pieces. Like I say, DJ Lagway is the key piece to the recruiting class. You get him in there. You get some other receivers in there. I think the Gators really need to focus on their trenches. Yeah, that's going to be. Billy, they really got to do that.
I talked to Gus this morning. He better hit this portal hard. Like, we need because he sucked in his portal pickups this last year, except for Mertz. That's it. Like these bums that we got from Ohio State and Michigan, they're bums.
What about that tackle from Bama?
Yeah, he's great too. Damian George. Yeah, Nick Saban packed his bag and Miss Terry took him to the airport. Like it was like, come on, Damian George.
How are you going to bring Miss Terry in this?
She probably baked him some freaking cookies and said, "Let's go, buddy."
Yeah,
get your ass on out of here.
You gotta have the mixture of the two, of the transfer portal and the freshmen come in. But
no, for sure. Like I know we need some instant impact on these lines of scrimmage, kind of like Deion needs to do the same thing in Colorado. So like that, there's a line of scrimmage league,
and that was the positive of our season. Even if you take out Tyler looking bad, the offensive line from last year to this year for Miami is light years better. I know Joe Cohen put out there that he's leaving. He's going to go enter the draft. I mean, if that's the only guy we lose on the offensive line. If Jalen Rivers comes back, which, it depends on. I think he's a late round guy. So come back to school one more year. Matt Lee comes back. Obviously, Arnez Cooper at right guard and Manoa at right tackle are all coming back. Those two for sure. I'm sure Matt Lee will come back. So you're going to have your whole right side, not knowing, Cohen's leaving, like I said, and then with Jalen Rivers. But if somehow we could get 4 of the 5 guys back, you feel good about next season. Yeah. And then defensively, Ruben Baines has to come back, unless he goes to transfer portal. Who knows what your favorite defensive tackle, the model, does. And Leonard Taylor, hopefully he comes back, So I like our lines of scrimmage. And that's, to me, where you got to win. That's where the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, and the Clemsons, that's how they win. They win on the lines of scrimmage. I don't care how many NFL receivers you put out there. That's great and all, but if you can't protect the quarterback or get to the quarterback, it doesn't matter who you have out there.
Yep. No, that's 100%. Agreed, buddy. But I guess we'll brush quickly on some of the other big games. Obviously, Georgia, the Bulldogs smashed the Tennessee
Hey, I
Volunteers.
got a
They
question for
scored
you.
on the first. They scored on the first play of the game. Tennessee was jacked. It looked good in Neyland, and then they got their
I got
ass
a question for you.
shellacked. What's up?
What does Kirby like have these guys like hidden, break glass when needed? Has anyone talked about Dylan Bell all season?
Right. I mean, he's been
Like,
he actually had a decent game against the Gators, so I knew about Dylan Bell.
no, I'm just saying, but you watching this game this past week, you would have thought that Dylan Bell was the #1 receiver.
Yeah, no, I know. 5 catches for 90 yards. He throws a touchdown. Like, Dylan Bell. He's doing the interview. He's doing the interview with Kirby after the game. I mean, like,
funny thing about this game, this was one of my favorite trips. The Hobnail boot game.
Yeah, you were there
back in 2001, 2002, Georgia, Tennessee at Tennessee.
That was a good game.
That was a good game. Sitting in Neyland, watching that when John Henderson, Jason Witten were there for Tennessee, and then David Green was the quarterback for Georgia. That was a great experience to be in Neyland that one time watching this game, and you see it every year. This is it's not Florida Georgia rivalry, but this is a rival game.
Definitely, they don't like each other, and like I say, there's been some good matchups. There's been some wild endings, some Hail Mary stuff, all that. I mean,
Josh Dobbs.
Everybody was loving like all week last week. Everybody's just like, oh, this is a prime pick'em for upset. I'm like, what have y'all been? Did y'all not watch Georgia beat the brakes off of Ole Miss, Kentucky, Florida? Like, I'm like, what?
They are a machine right now.
Like they literally,
and Carson is just.
Carson's playing out his mind right now. He's playing so good. He's playing so good.
And it helps when you
defense is great. Like the run game's getting good. I'm literally, I told my work friend, Kenna, he's a huge Georgia alum, big time dog. I told her today, I'm like, I don't think anybody's beating y'all. So I'm like, Bama is, I think, the only shot. And obviously they got to play them.
Yeah.
But
because you think about the other teams, what is, I think Bama and Oregon.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody can touch them right now. And
it's crazy. I'm just saying. But I'm saying,
who can pose the most threat? I know.
Yeah, because does Ohio State scare you offensively? They don't.
No, they don't. That's what I'm saying. Ohio State, Michigan, offensively right now, they don't scare me.
Washington,
Florida State, I would know Jordan Travis. Yeah, Washington. Like none of these teams. It's literally Bama and Oregon who can, I think, and even Texas.
Texas has the talent, but they can't do it.
Yeah, literally. Like sitting here 2 weeks out, if I'm going to pick a winner, we had to say who's going to win the national championship. I'd pick Georgia.
Yeah.
I just now don't get me wrong, they can lose to Bama, but if Bama doesn't beat them, I don't think they're going to lose.
I mean, they're not Georgia of the last 2 years, but at this moment, they're the best team in the country.
They're so good. Like you say, they're so good that like even in a dogfight game, I still would be like, they're going to be calm. They'll be fine. Go back to the Auburn game, go back to the, speaking of Auburn, good Lord, New Mexico State. God dang, Auburn.
What was it, 1.5 million?
Yeah, Auburn is going to a bowl game and the Gators aren't, but I think Florida could beat Auburn. Like, why couldn't we get Auburn instead of Arkansas? Whatever. But anyways, Georgia looks phenomenal right now. Like I say, they're like you say, machine worthy.
Machine. I mean, you look at offense, dude. Their offensive line's playing good, and then who do you focus in on? You can focus on Brock Bowers if you want.
Yeah, Lad's healthy again. Now you got Ra, you got Dylan Bell, you got Lovett, all of them. There you go, 5 guys right there, and we haven't even mentioned the running backs.
Dylan Bell.
Yeah, I said Dylan Bell second. Now he moved up.
Just come out and have a career day.
And like I said, again, the defense, it's a bunch of guys that have been hanging out in the wings, waiting their turn. And they'll all be playing for the Eagles next year. Yep. So, but like I say, I guess the other big one was the Washington, getting the big win against Oregon State. Nasty. The weather looked awful, man. I was like,
it's great Northwest, buddy.
I had the, we had the
great Northwest.
We had the dual TV going, and me and David are just sitting there. I'm like, dude. I'd be like, let's go home, man. I'm not sitting in this no more. This is brutal weather. Ugly, cold, 36 degrees and just raining. Yeah, it looked bad, but
That's pretty much what I was
Washington.
in this last week, Sponge.
There you go. There you go. You lived it. So
And a little bit of snow.
yeah, Washington just
Hey,
continues
just
to
win.
find ways to win, man. They
Just
continue
win.
to find ways to win. Their
Mm-hmm.
defense hasn't been ultra impressive. You know,
Mm-mm.
they haven't been lighting up the scoreboard per se with Penix, but again, keep on winning, and they've found themselves into the top 4 now. They've passed Florida State up because I think that was a good quality victory in Oregon State. So now can they close the deal against Wazoo, who beat the brakes off of Dion? I think they beat Washington State, and I think we're looking at the rematch of Oregon and Washington next week. So
still it's rivalry week, one of the best weeks of college football season. Like you say, I think Washington should win the Apple Cup. Oregon should win the Civil War.
Right. But anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. I mean, that Washington State offense, I mean, I was Colorado, but good God, man. Like,
hey, Josh Kelly, Cam Ward, Josh Kelly, Kyle Williams, they could light it up.
No, they can.
I mean, like you say, Washington's defense hasn't been
if Washington has a game like they did against Arizona State, they'll lose. You know.
Like I say, can they guard Kyle Williams and Josh Kelly?
Yeah.
And if they can't get pressure on Cam Ward, it's gonna be a long day.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, well, let's hop into some of the games. We'll go straight into the Canes. Do the Canes get a dub on the road in Chestnut Hill Friday? They play Friday night.
It depends on if it's above 40 degrees or below 40 degrees. If it's below 40 degrees, Boston College may win.
Check that weather. Let's check that weather report.
If it's above 40 degrees, Miami boys freak out when it's 45 and they're in ski mask and everything else.
All right, here we go. It is the weather check. Right on the tip, baby. 42 degrees.
Oh, man. I don't know. I might have to take Boston College into 10.
Yeah, like I said, this is one where I think you guys win this one on the road. I don't know if you cover the line. I think Boston College isn't great. Now, Boston College is good at home, but we just saw two, like we just said, we saw two inspired losses to where you are a good team, but and going back to where you should have never lost to Georgia Tech, blah 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 blah. I still think Miami's still a pretty good damn team. I think Boston College isn't a very good team, so I like the Canes to take care of business and get this win. Honestly, I do.
Protect Tyler. Tyler, don't throw the ball. Throw the ball to the other team. Continue running the football. Defense. I don't think Boston College is going to do all the shifts, motions like Louisville does, and they don't have a play caller like Louisville does.
No.
I like our chance. Like I say, you got to give Brom, wherever he's been as an OC or a head coach, even at Purdue, his offenses give teams problems. Not saying they're world beaters, but he's just a good OC with him and his brother as a duo, calling plays and whatnot. I think the biggest thing what Boston College is probably going to do is they're going to try to line the ball up and run it at Miami, especially being 40 degrees and try to break their will. So somehow the one thing going on at watching the game, they said that last week's game, they threw out some plays. They went to Tyler, which this makes no sense. And when I heard that, I was like, this makes zero sense to me that you waited to the end of the season to sit down with Tyler Van Dyke and say, hey, what plays do you like? What plays you don't like? That is the dumbest. There's been more dumb comments coming out of University of Miami this year. Not just University of Miami, plenty of coaches, even in Gainesville, some of the dumb shit they've been saying.
Yeah.
But yeah. So can we continue running the football? Can we get the lead? I'd feel better if they could jump up 21. I know that's a lot of points, but if they could come out and jump up and not say jump up 14-3, the next thing you know, it's 17-14. Can we be consistent on defense, continue to get pressure on the quarterback? I think it's the kid from UCF, and stop the run game. Like you say, Miami should win this game. They should cover. But if they lost this game, would it surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't. I mean,
it wouldn't.
Boston College has found themselves 6-5. They're bowl eligible. But guess what? Like we just said, they've lost 2 in a row as well. They lost to Virginia Tech in kind of blowout fashion, and then they lost to that scrappy Pitt team, by last week. So
yeah, I mean, just go out there and play Miami football,
they
whatever that
definitely play
is.
better at home than they do on the road, but still,
Yeah, Miami's a better team.
yeah,
They're a
Miami's
better
got the better.
team.
They got the better athletes. Van
Yeah,
Dyke, if he play like he did last week, don't turn the ball over.
yeah.
Get your ground game
Hey,
going. Miami should win the
the
game.
other thing, like, did you watch any of the Miami game? You see any
Oh,
highlights?
no, I did. I watched. That was the early window, so I had that one on.
Now we want to be creative with the offense.
Right.
Now we want to throw creative plays in there, and it's just like
Finding ways to get Restrepo the ball, baby.
like I get it. Like Tyler was struggling, so you're trying to limit putting him in bad situations. But to me, you were putting him in bad situations by letting him throw the ball down the field. This week, you want to like let him dump it off and get little crossing routes, like the crossing route to Restrepo for the touchdown. You run the reverse with Brashard Smith. You're just looking at it, and it's just like where's this been all season?
Yeah.
Where has this been all season? And not
12,
saying
baby.
that would have
Week 12.
changed. That's not saying that would have changed wins and losses, but maybe I'm a firm believer in let's get the ball out quick. Let Tyler let's just let him dart it and get himself into a rhythm. That was the one great thing about Ken Dorsey. He's just like, let me just get into a rhythm. And the next thing you know, take shots down the field. Let me just drop it off to Shockey. Let me drop it off to Portis. Roscoe's going to run a little short route. I mean, even with the Gators back in the day with the fun and gun, Steve would be like, hey, let's just get little short routes. And then, we're going to take our chances. But I want to get my quarterback in a rhythm. And
I think that is a huge thing. It's just like, we talk about like a shooter, getting a rhythm and go.
And I think, it finally hit me like this past weekend. I think Tyler's problem is if you look at what they ran when Rhett Lashley was there compared to what they're running now. The one complaint I had when we were watching the Florida State game, what I kept saying, we should be going fast right here. Nope, we're going to slow down. We're going to watch Matt Lee point out the linebacker, who has who, which way we're sliding. The next thing you know, 20 seconds is off the clock. And I think Tyler is one of those quarterbacks that wants to get into a rhythm and just go fast.
Right.
He's a run and shoot type quarterback, in my opinion. And running this style offense, I think it's taken me a while to realize it, but it's definitely throwing him out of rhythm.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree. And like I say, it sucks that it took this far to the season to figure things out. You had the quarterback movement and shakeup, and injury where you put the freshman in and he comes in, and like I say, it's just been a kind of chaotic end of the season. But I still think you get this win, and hopefully we're talking about a win. 7-win season when it probably should have been 8, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. On to the big one.
All right, dog. Let's break down the battle of Tate Rodemaker versus Max Brown and the Florida State. You go first. I want to see. I mean, obviously, I think we're both going to take the Noles just because we think they're the better team. But where is the path to victory for the Gators? Is what I'll ask you, bro.
I think I like what saw.
Is there a path to victory for the Gators?
Is there a path to victory? That defensive line better show up, which they probably won't. Limit them. Playing against Tate Rodemaker, you would like your chances with your defense not being confused. You would think the offense would be kind of simple, but now you have to match up with Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell. You're going to have to slow down that running game for the most part, but you're going to sit there and say, we're going to not let Tate Rodemaker beat us. And then on the flip side, Gators offensively, I think Max Brown brings an element that Graham Mertz didn't bring with that RPO. And if I'm Billy, I pull out every trick in the bag with that RPO. There'll be times where I have Montrell and ETN in the backfield. I mean, that'll be one thing they need to practice all week to get the handoffs and everything. And just try to get the ball out of his hands quick to those guys, which, you got a good group of receivers with Wilson, Pearsall, and Jackson. So can the offensive line for the Gators protect Max Brown? Can they get some RPO going? Can ETN get some explosives? And can the defense slow down that Florida State, a high-powered Florida State offense? It's still high-powered because, like you say, when you got those skill guys, they're still good. And then on the flip side, I'll just go to flip side real quick and just let you go. If you're Florida State, like I say, you want to run the football and you want to keep it simple as possible for Tate Rodemaker. And you want to say, hey, Johnny and Keon, you guys got to really help him out this week. And we like our matchups. They're going to continue doing their tight end screens, their running back screens. They have guys. And then on the defensive side, this is a game where if you're Jared Verse and Fisk and the boys up front, where you got to be a little disciplined with an RPO quarterback, and you got to get them to the ground. So, like you said, I think Florida State wins. I could see it being like a 24-17, 24-21 type game. Because, like I say, with two backup quarterbacks, you really can't expect a ton. You just don't expect someone to come in and light it up. Can it happen? Yeah, but
yeah,
I expect a lot of quick passing coming from both quarterbacks, to where you're not letting them sit back there and try to take shots down the field and get blown up.
Well, the perfect recipe for first time quarterback on the road playing in a hostile environment is play against the Gator defense. I mean, that's that simple. Like, we're freaking awful. So I don't love the matchup just because I told Ricky, I was like, basically what they did was they handed the keys, Tate Rodemaker, to the Lambo, and it's like, don't wreck this, don't crash this car. You got plenty of guys to help you, like you just said.
Yeah,
you got plenty of guys to make plays. My biggest question, what I have, is what kind of game is Norvell going to call early?
Exactly.
Is he going to go conservative? Is he going to say, you know what, let's not do anything crazy. Let's lean on this game. Let's see if Benson can get loose. Let's see if we can run the ball on these guys, and then kind of let the game kind of come as it is.
And if you don't, watching the Gators defense the last couple of weeks, you should be able to run the football.
Right. You're right. And so here's what I want as this. And on the flip side of that is Armstrong. If I'm the DC, I'm like, you know what?
The bus.
I am like, you know what? We are going to shut this run game down. We aren't going to let Trey Benson get loose. We're not going to have a Ray Davis experience. We're not going to have a Cody Schrader experience. We're going to shut this run game down, and we're going to say, guess what? If Keon Coleman can beat Jason Marshall, or Jalen Kimber gets mossed by, Johnny Wilson, and we don't get to the quarterback, then you tip your cap. You make him make those throws down the field.
Well, I think you blitz. You blitz him, and you just say, hey, on your way to the quarterback, if he hands it off, you make the tackle.
Yeah, no. So I'll be interested to see those two philosophies of who's going to do what and where's it going to go. So
it's funny how losing both quarterbacks changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Totally.
When it comes to how the game's going to be called by both offensive play callers, which are both head coaches.
Right. And so exactly, what is Billy going to do, with a new quarterback in Max Brown? Like you said, I think obviously they play to his strengths, knowing what he does well, which was good when he got inserted to that Missouri game, because I think Billy called a pretty good couple of run schemes, a pretty good couple pass plays. I mean, he was 4 for 5 in all of his passes that he threw. I mean, they kind of went conservative, but I don't know if Max Brown can throw it. I really don't. I have no clue. Florida State's got to be like, you know what? We're going to sell out to shut ETN down. We're going to sell out to shut Montreal down. We're going to sell out to shut these RPO games down and say, Max Brown, you're going to have to complete 10-yard balls. You're going to have to complete balls down the field. Same as Tate. But I think if I was leaning towards the better quarterback, the guy who's played more, has a little bit more experience, it would be Rodemaker, on top of having a guy like Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson to throw to. So I still got to like Florida State's chances. I mean, they're the better team. So, if Graham Mertz was playing in this game, you're like, oh, then, the Florida offense probably still looks good. So now you're saying Graham Mertz has been averaging about 30 points a game or more, so now you're saying, okay, we're going to score 30 in this game. JT, can we limit Florida State from scoring 30? And that's where it would have gotten interesting to be like, if Graham would have been playing versus, both guys being out. So, but guess what? They're both out. It is what it is. So then it kind of goes back to who has the better team.
Yep.
What quarterback do you maybe have the most faith in?
Yeah.
And then really and truly, what it boils down to is who has a better defense, and that is no question.
Yeah.
So,
who doesn't turn the ball over?
Yeah.
And have a costly turnover in the other team's red zone, where even they could get 3.
Right. I need a hostile swamp environment. A hostile swamp environment. First road game for Tate Rodemaker. Let's make them feel uncomfortable. Let's come after him. Let's all bring it all, throw it all at him, and then make him at the end of the game be like, man, Tate Rodemaker, Good
Yeah.
job, buddy.
I mean,
You
if
did
you're
that.
if you're Armstrong, you go into that secondary meet and you tell the guys like, hey, there I'll make it zero confusion for you. Whatever guy you line up on, that is your man because we
Right.
are blitzing.
Yeah.
We're manning up and we're blitzing everyone else. We're not trying to play zone. We're not trying to be all cute, doing switches and all of that. You get your guy because we got to get to him. If we can make his life a living hell, and you guys know that your lineup on Coleman,
Ball's coming out quick. You better be on top of these guys. 50-50 balls.
That's the only way.
Yeah,
but on the flip side, if you're Florida State, on the flip side, I'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, you know what? You know what I meant to ask? I haven't heard anything else on the Bethune. Is he playing this week?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Because I didn't realize he didn't play until Sunday. He didn't play Saturday.
I'm not sure if Tatum's in or out, but on the flip side of that, I think Austin's going to be out and George is out. So two new right tackles and your left tackle, going against Verse and those guys. So again,
good luck.
Yeah.
What's your score?
I think Florida State wins 31-20, 31-23, somewhere around there.
See that.
Something like that. I just don't. I think Florida State continues to do what they do. I think they cover the 7. I would pick them to cover, but
yeah,
like I say, it sucks that both I would have loved to have seen this game with both Graham Mertz and Jordan Travis.
I mean, because again, I would pick
Florida State too. I would pick Florida State as well. I wanted to see how we stacked up against them.
Yeah.
If Florida State is legit Final Four team, we played against the number 1 team in Georgia. We played against a good team at LSU. How good is Florida State? It's like that check game. You guys played them, last week, and it was a back and forth game to the end, So it was like, I want to know where we stack up. I want to know how far we are behind or not, So it sucks that, that you don't have everybody playing. It is what it is, but so now guess what? Let's see where we are now in this measurement. So
you can measure it in other positions.
Exactly. How far are we behind? Defensively they're way better than us. Skills, all that stuff. So, all right, dog. Your favorite segment of the show, the Big Noon Kickoff and the Big Ten, baby.
Oh God!
How much are we going to talk about the Ohio State versus?
Can I say something?
Michigan.
This is going to sound like hate.
Here comes hate.
This is one of the most overrated rivalry games in college football, in my opinion. It's
funny because
top 10. It's top 10.
Yeah, it's a great. What's funny is I always feel like I'm hyped up to watch it and everything, and then it's just like I don't even care about this game.
It's not the best rivalry game in college football. I hate to say that. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't hate to say that. This game, they have good games, but like you say, if I stack this game up against other rivalry games, this would not be number 1. Florida State is a better rivalry game than this game.
Yeah,
in my opinion, Florida State, Miami.
Yeah,
is a better rivalry.
I love those, and those are ours because they're close to our hearts and all that stuff. But I guess too, the only reason this one's been good the last couple of years is because both teams have been in the top 5.
I get that.
The game, what's crazy is the game. Obviously, the last 2 years has gone Michigan's way in a big way, and the game hasn't been very good.
The Egg Bowl. I rather watch the Egg Bowl.
Yeah,
because something
crazy.
crazy.
Ole Miss is good for sure.
Because something crazy. Elijah Moore is going to pee on a pylon, or
Old piss.
The Egg Bowl is one of the craziest rivalry games. Every year, something.
You can watch that one. You get to watch that one tomorrow night on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
baby.
No, I know, but I'm just saying. I'm just going through other rivalry games. I'd rather watch than, like you say, it's a top 10 rivalry game. I'm not dismissing that. Not saying it isn't. I just don't understand how people keep trying to force it down our throats and say it's the number 1 rivalry game in college football.
It's the game. All right, well, dog. We'll get into it. Who you got? We'll do this one fast because I know
I got Ohio State.
I know you want to talk. Oh, baby. Why is that?
I don't know. I just
no Michigan. You
put me under the gun, and I just picked Ohio State.
All right.
Who you got?
I got the Buckeyes too. I think you know me. I'm a Kyle McCord backer. You know I've been riding him, so I gotta continue on. I think they obviously have the best player in the game in Harrison, cheat code. I just watching Michigan finally have to play two good teams or two decent teams.
Yeah.
They've looked not unbeatable, you know. So definitely Michigan's defense is really good.
Yeah. Can Ohio State do anything on offense?
Exactly. So here's what I say.
17-13 type game.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We know Quorum and Donovan Edwards are really good. We know JJ's pretty good. I don't feel like he has any weapons to throw to. And what I've told you all year, what I really like about Ohio State isn't even their offense. I think Ohio State's defense is really freaking good. I think it's rock solid. So I think they're going to come and shut that Michigan run game down. And they're going to have to JJ's going to have to make some throws. And on the flip side, take the under for sure. On the flip side, I think Michigan has a really good defense as well. So where does the X factor come? Like you just said, where can offense come from Ohio State? I think McCord is good enough and capable, and I think they have Marvin Harrison, and I think they still have two pretty good backs too. So I think Ohio State wins a tight game on the road as well. So I'll be interested to see, but it'll be fun to watch the chess match of who does what, and can Michigan run the ball? Can JJ make some throws? All that stuff. But I just
Texas A&M and LSU is a better rivalry game.
Jimbo
7 overtimes.
That was a pretty good game. That was pretty good a couple years ago. But no,
the Iron Bowl is 10 times better than Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah. The problem with these is you're spitting out is, again, the last 3 years these teams have been in the top 5. So it's
the Civil War is better than Michigan, Ohio State.
This year definitely might be the better game for sure. Because we'll just jump right into that one next, because that is Friday night's game that I'm looking forward to that because it's a standalone game on Friday night. It's a Friday night standalone.
You see the intriguing matchup of this game?
I don't know. What's the intriguing matchup?
I can't even say DJU versus his brother.
Oh, yeah, true. This is
his
true.
Brother plays I believe his brother plays linebacker for Oregon State. No, his brother plays linebacker for Oregon. DJ plays for Oregon State. Yeah. And did you see what Dan said?
No.
He basically told him, like, I don't care, he's your brother. Hit him.
Yeah. Hell yeah. What do you think about this line? Who you got? You got the Ducks to cover here? Or what do you think Oregon State keeps tight?
I think the Ducks get a backdoor cover.
That's the big line.
I think the Ducks get a backdoor cover. I like you said, I've been riding Oregon State all year. I like Oregon State. I like the moves they've made.
I think Oregon State's good.
They get a little too lethargic sometimes, and DJ does throw the ball away. I think Oregon wins. I think Oregon covers easy. I think they win by 14 plus.
Yeah, I think Oregon just, man, like watching that game last week was like another level style. It was like, dude, like Bo Nix would have 4 touchdowns or 6 touchdowns in the first half or something. I mean, Arizona State's bad, but I mean, it was just like they were machine-like offensively.
Yeah.
So I think Oregon State has a pretty solid D, if DJU comes to play. But being at Outson, everything on the line right now for Oregon to try to get back in this playoff mix. They needed some bad. They needed desperate. So I just feel like Oregon gets it done. I feel like Washington gets it done. So I feel like both of those teams are on that collision for the rematch. Yeah.
Used to be one of my other favorite rivalry games, the Apple Cup.
Yeah, so like I say, those are.
I think I'm gonna name every other rivalry.
I was about to say those are the two. Those are the two major, I'd say, big ones this weekend. Obviously, we just talked about some of those other rivalry games. Good old fashioned hate. Georgia is going to beat the hell out of Georgia Tech. Alabama, I think, is going to beat the brakes off of Auburn. We think Washington's going to win. Who else you got? What other game?
The game.
Bama's going to roll that.
No, I'm saying between the two games. The rivalry games, which one is better?
I'm going to roll. I'm going to roll with. I'm rolling with the Iron Bowl, and I've actually been to that one too. So, and that was a good one that I went to as well. But that's because we're from the South, baby.
Hold on,
the SEC, baby. We're SEC country.
Another one that's always under the radar, but the last 3 years has been crazy. Clemson, South Carolina.
Clemson, South Carolina is always a good one too. definitely been.
I'm not picking that over Ohio State, Michigan, but I'm just
right.
That's just another one you have to watch because, I mean, what South Carolina did with their signs help
Yeah,
last
I mean
season.
Tennessee Vandy, man, Tennessee Vandy, Nashville,
I
Knoxville,
ain't going that far. I'm not going with you on that one.
Louisville, Kentucky, baby.
Yeah, the Bourbon Bowl.
No, like I say, I love the Iron Bowl. Definitely Clemson, Carolina when Clemson's in the top and then Carolina's playing good. But
funny story about the Iron Bowl. When I was at Alabama State, I forgot what year that was. It was the 97, the 97 Iron Bowl. And one of my teammates, his brother, was the fullback. I can't remember his name, where he fumbled. He fumbled the ball where Alabama was pretty much going to win. And he fumbled the ball, and Auburn got it and took the lead. And then somehow he was on the kick return team, and he was trying his best to return that damn kickoff. And when you say like a rivalry game, like I remember him telling us like how his brother had death threats because he fumbled the ball and basically lost the game. And like he left school for a while, and it was crazy. Like that whole day just being in Montgomery and just everyone talking about the Iron Bowl, and just it was just we weren't even in either city, and it was just next level of how passionate the people were about that game. Like everything just shut down for that game. It's nuts. And like you said, I know you've attended once.
Yeah, I went to the one a couple of years ago. It was Jalen Hurts got beat. That was before they benched Jalen Hurts in the national championship. They actually lost that game to Auburn, and then somehow found their way back into the Final Four. Beat Bama. That was the Tua year. Where
it's funny you brought that up because I was going through Twitter the other day because I didn't understand Swedish television, so I was heavy on Twitter. It was remember when Jalen Hurts lost the bet to Barkley and he had to put the Auburn jersey on, but he put the backpack on with the championship.
Yep.
It was that year. Yeah.
That was before he transferred. He transferred to OU the next year.
I mean, yeah, it's some great rivalry games. This should be a fun weekend. I mean, starts like you say with the Egg Bowl Thursday tomorrow night, and then you got all day Friday, all day Saturday, so you could almost just pick one and be happy with it.
Yeah, like I said, and then we'll get into. After these ones, we'll get into that good conference championship week and see where we're at. Obviously, talk about the polls right now, where we think the college football rankings came out last night. Where are you on yours?
Be ready for
a little shakeup.
Be ready for the Army Navy edition.
Oh, yeah.
No, be ready for the Army Navy edition of the pod.
That's what I'm talking about. Army Navy edition, standalone game only. All right, Doug.
Top 10
you got some shakeup? You got some shakeups? Are the Knowles still number 2 in your shakeup? You don't have to be like Boo Corrigan. You gotta you literally have to be like Jordan Travis does make a difference.
He does make a difference. I got Georgia 1. Still got Georgia 1. No, I'll leave the Knowles at 2. I don't mind. They got 2 weeks. They got 2 weeks to show me any different.
Yeah.
So they beat the team they were supposed to beat, and they beat them bad. So I got the Georgia 1, Knowles 2, Ohio State 3, Michigan 4, UW 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7, Bama 8. I guess I got to put the Missouri Tigers in there at 9 and Louisville at 10. Louisville.
Did you see the Josh Pate power poll?
No, I don't look at that.
I know you love the Josh Pate power poll.
Yeah. Him and
Who do you think? Just roll the dice. Who do you think his top 4 would be in the Josh Pate power poll?
His top 4, he would have Georgia, Oregon, Washington, and probably like a Bama.
All right, you're pretty close. You got 3 out of the 4. Georgia 1, Bama 2, Oregon 3. Oregon 3, Michigan 4, Ohio State 5.
Yeah.
But again,
I
this is
believe
not his. This is not his poll. It's basically
No. I know.
yeah, it's basically based on Vegas odds. So like
Yeah.
we've been talking about who would beat Georgia. The only team we said earlier in the podcast would be Bama and maybe Oregon. Guess what? They're 2-3. So Vegas is right along with our thinking. We're pretty smart.
Yeah.
Hey, we know ball, dog. We know ball. So
I think we do just a little bit.
We know ball. So like if we're saying that who can beat Georgia because we both think they're the best team, and we both said, I would say Bama and Oregon. That's right along with them. But yeah, my poll, it's exactly what the committee's got right now. I'm good with it. Let's 1 through 10, just how the committee has it. I think they got it right. So again, guess what? We get to play it all out. So those scenarios we threw out, we don't have to argue. Like I know you're probably flying back or traveling. You should have watched it was pretty funny last night because that was like one of the, I guess probably one of the only ones I watched like kind of beginning to end, just listening to Booger and Joey Galloway and like, dude, they were getting into it. McElroy, like, it was quite entertaining to listen to him talk about the eye test, the resume, the da-da-da-da-da-da. If you talk about them, you got to put them out. I think Washington's played the best teams and blah, blah, blah. That's why they should have jumped Florida State. But if you're talking about this, like Joey was going in where Washington's better than Michigan. They've got a better resume than Michigan. And then Greg jumps in like, oh, you're on that Michigan hate train. Well, they're better than Ohio State, So it's just like, oh my God, these guys, dude.
I mean, the top 5 should be the top 5.
It sounds like you and me arguing about whether or not to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the top 5 should be the top 5, like the 5 undefeateds. Who cares how you're ranked at that point to me? And that was my thing when we had that big text exchange the other day where it's like, oh, everyone's hating on Florida State. No one's giving us props. No one this, no one that before Saturday. And it's just like, who isn't giving Florida State credit? Like, of course, Josh Pate is probably doing his power poll, but he's not basing it off of rankings. He's basing it off of something else, whatever the hell he's basing it off.
He's basically basing it off. And this is the only thing that I threw out to you is if Florida State played on a neutral field against all these teams, Washington, and this is before Jordan Travis, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Bama, Ohio State, like who would you pick to win that game? And basically it's who would Vegas favor?
Yeah.
So basically they would
hypothetically
Florida State's the dog in every one of those games. They're the underdog.
Except for Washington. I think they would be favored in a Washington game. Right. I think they would be favored in Ohio State or Michigan. They would not be favored in the Georgia game. They would not be favored.
I don't think they would. And I think that's what that poll stands for is like the metric, whatever rating they use is what Vegas. I don't know the whole
my metric. Details. I would have them.
This is your Vegas metric.
My metric, I would have them favored over Ohio State and Michigan, and probably Washington. They would not be favored over Georgia. They would not be favored over Oregon. They would not be favored over Bama. They would not be favored over Texas. Just my opinion.
See, that's crazy. That's crazy. You would think that, but the 2 undefeated teams in Ohio State and Michigan, you wouldn't think they'd be favored over.
Have you not been paying attention this all season about my theories on the Big Ten?
I know. You don't think they can score enough.
I don't think they can score enough.
I say the good part, the crazy part is we're going to find out because one of those teams is going to make it in. We're going to see whether or not they can score on one of these teams. Well, that'll be good. That's going to be fun. But yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is like I say, with a healthy JT, he just brings a dynamic to the game that sometimes you can't account for. And I think Michigan and Ohio State he would do enough to get enough points to beat the 2 of them.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that. And like I say, the sad part is now we're never going to know.
We'll never know. And I think their front seven is good enough to play with Michigan and Ohio State, in my opinion. Like their back end could be a little shaky at times, but I think their front 7 is good enough to play with those. I think they could get up and play for those 2 games because if they get after Kyle McCord, it's not like Kyle McCord and Ohio State's going to put up 30 against Florida State.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think Michigan's going to put up 30 against Florida State.
I know.
Could they? Yeah, they could. But
that's the big question is, here's the thing, like you said, too, and this is what's crazy, and this is just going back to the whole argument of, Michigan and Ohio State's offense. What's crazy is both of those teams still offensively, and this is where what you're saying is their numbers are kind of skewed because of their maybe level of competition or who they played. So it's like inflated numbers, offense is not that good, that type of thing. And that's where it's like, I don't know. That's where
Florida
it's
State
tough.
against Rutgers. How many points does Florida State put up against Rutgers?
Yeah, they scored 30 in that game.
Illinois.
Easily 34. It's like
Purdue.
those are like that's like playing Virginia
Purdue.
Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse.
I
know I
I'm
agree.
just saying.
That all I'm saying is you're basically here. My biggest thing is, and I don't disagree. You're bashing Michigan and Ohio State's offense like basically they're not good, is what I'm saying.
I think they're decent.
Yeah, because I mean,
decent.
I don't even know what they're averaging. I'm trying to figure out what they're averaging.
Are they good enough in a track meet?
Yeah, that's the good question.
That's the thing.
I think their defense, both of those defenses are light years better than Florida State. That's all I'm saying. But again, this argument's for a whole nother day because now Florida State's a whole nother wrinkle. They're totally different. So,
yep.
Like I say, at the end of the day, when we get into these rankings, I feel like I'm a damn Big Ten homer. Like I love the Big Ten.
You are.
Like I can't wait to sit down on noon on Saturday.
And guess what? I don't care to be a Big Ten hater. I don't care.
Yeah.
The conference sucks.
And here's the thing: the conference this year is really bad. It's literally the 3 teams, and that's it. It ain't no 4th team where like Iowa's trash. Like you're horrible. Wisconsin, man. Penn State would. Where would Penn State be right now in the ACC?
Probably 4th.
So you think? Obviously, I think Florida State's better than them. So you think Louisville's better than them, and you think what about your Canes? Can you guys knock down Penn State? Can you score on them?
Penn State?
Huh?
Yeah. I think we could beat Penn State. Penn State is not impressive.
Yeah.
Would Penn State keep up with North Carolina? As bad as that defense is.
Yeah, no, I would love like that's a great matchup to be like how good is
North Carolina defense can be.
I would say, put it this way. That's the wild thing is I would think the defense.
You think Penn State's defense would stop the North Carolina offense?
I think it would have a pretty good day. I don't think they're just gonna go crazy on them.
Hey, you can't even count out Dabo and Clemson being better than Penn State. They could possibly be better than Penn State. They're probably even to me.
Yeah, like I say, the sad part is that I would love to see these matchups because of that.
Yeah,
but it's just
but we got to pump the brakes on it because we may get some of these matchups in the bowl games, and I know,
but we know bowl games. Like if Clemson and Penn State play in the bowl game.
But what I'm saying is, people just say hypothetically, Penn State and Louisville play in the bowl game.
Let's see, Penn State's going to probably it's probably going to be versus the SEC team.
But I'm just saying,
Penn State, Ole Miss. What about that
one? Okay, Ole Miss and Penn State.
Who you like? Ole Miss?
I'm thinking Ole Miss.
I don't know. Like I say, I like Ole Miss too, but they're damn questionable as hell to me too. But
Penn State, LSU.
Come on now. I would go Jaden Daniels versus anybody right now. I'd love like Jaden Daniels versus the world. Jaden Daniels versus the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I say, I still, this is where it's hard to gauge the Big Ten because of like the basically the teams that are literally after those 3 this year have probably, would you say this has probably been the worst Big Ten in the last decade? I would say after Penn State. We'll give Penn State the nod at being a 3. Normally, you would at least have
my Big Ten slander. This will be the last year of my Big Ten slander because next year it gets better.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, me personally, I think this is probably the worst Big Ten in the last decade.
It's been pretty bad,
right? I mean, that's all I'm saying. Is so
I think it's been. I guess because Wisconsin's down.
Exactly. You think about. There's always at least a Wisconsin or a sneaky Purdue or Minnesota or something. All those teams are.
But that's what I've been saying. Like the Big Ten is god awful this year.
That's what I'm saying. And so I can't gauge it to where it's like, yes, Ohio State and Michigan and even Penn State, they're bum slayers. They're slaying all the bums.
And all the people that probably the few people that listen to this that are Big Ten fans. I don't care. Your conference sucks.
Yeah, no, I've always said Big Ten sucks. Big Ten sucks, man.
Like you say, every week is like watching paint dry.
Exactly. The
It's
big
funny.
noon game.
One
It's
of
going
our
to be
buddies,
17-13.
I
Ohio
was
State.
me and one of our buddies one night, our boy Cheech, me, Ricky, and Cheech were talking about one of the Big Ten games. It was one of the Michigan or Ohio State games, whoever they were playing. And I was just sitting there looking at him. He's talking about it. He's like, "You're not going to say anything?" I said, "No, because that game's going to be boring. It's going to be like watching paint dry." I saw him the next week. He was like, "Dude, you were so spot on." I was like, "Yeah,
No, it is. The only reason I was intrigued by the Penn State Michigan game was just it was going to be Michigan's finally playing against a heartbeat team. It wasn't like I was like dying to watch it. It was just,
I know that,
no, I
but
know.
it's still.
Yeah, even watching Michigan last week against Maryland, that game was boring.
Yeah,
it's just like it only got interesting when Maryland hit some plays and it got tight there late, but for the most part, again, it was low scoring. I mean, they did get in the 20, they got in the upper 20s, I guess, almost 30.
No more Big Ten love for me.
Big Ten is a wrap.
Either we end this show or we talk about something else. I'm over talking about the Big Ten.
I love getting it in there because I know you enjoy it so much. But no, that's pretty much a wrap for this week. I mean, we broke it down enough. I mean, it's rivalry week. It's hate week. I hope the Gators beat
one
the shit
fan
out of
base
Florida
gets to
State.
talk shit for
Exactly.
365.
Ricky wants to come over and watch the game with me. I'm like, man, he's feeling good. He's still feeling good. He's still feeling good.
He's feeling frisky.
Tate Rodemaker getting the keys. So let's go, Florida State.
Well,
Let's go.
Happy
Florida
Thanksgiving
State.
to everyone out there. Enjoy your football, even if it's the Detroit Lions tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day.
Go Lions, baby.
Yeah, enjoy your rivalry games, and we'll be back next week, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. We got to wrap up the rivalry hate week, see who wins some of these rivalry games. Does anybody get upset? We haven't had many major upsets, so does chaos happen before conference championship weekend? Obviously the rankings will be in flux, next week with, Michigan, Ohio State. Somebody's going out. Does anybody else get upset? What's the shakeup going to be? We'll be here to break down the final week of the college football season. It's crazy that it's here. It sucks, but it is what it is. So we appreciate all the listeners, subscribers, and keep coming back and listening to us. And we'll be back again next week, dog. Holla.
Peace.